welcome to the Talkin Kop. My name is Ashley, and I'm joined by Kev, and we are obnoxiously positive as compared to what we would have been about 18 minutes ago. Look, guys, we are coming straight off the back of Liverpool 1, Forrest 0, one of the most undeserved victories I can possibly remember, but great result for us at the end of the day. Kev, immediate reactions, just what an ending to that game.
3 points. Thank you, football gods, because they were shining on us all mercifully today. And we absolutely committed highway robbery on Nottingham Forest. And I couldn't be happier. I really couldn't be happier that we
couldn't happen to a nicer group of people.
Yep. I'm really happy that we've done them like that. We didn't deserve a thing out of that. Well, no, I was saying that. I think we deserved a point at the least, because for all of their huff and puff in the first half, they were pretty toothless in the second half.
Yeah.
So I thought we deserved a point out of it. But as the game wore on, it always felt like, and when the changes came, I think on 70 minutes, when the changes came from both sides, it felt to me like there was only one side going to win it. It was just a case, could we work a chance? And we got a couple of chances. So, and eventually we took one. So delighted with the result, delighted with the 3 points, especially on the back of how results have gone this weekend. It was vital for confidence more than anything, but it was vital that we picked up 3 points today. Irrespective of what happens tomorrow night with Everton and Manchester United, it heaps of pressure on them now. And, we're level on points with Chelsea and United currently, and 6 points off Villa. We've opened up a 5-point gap to Brentford behind us. So all's good and happy with life. Can't complain.
I can just imagine them getting on that team bus being like, let's get the fuck out of here. Just honestly. But yeah, no, it was quite a result. I think in the end, Davey puts it right. As Shakespeare once said, to VAR or not to VAR, that is the question. But justice was done in the end. We will get to it, because they really did their best to try to rule that second one out. Kev, we're going to start right at the front. Let's talk about lineups, because when the lineups dropped, I don't think there were that many surprises. But about 5 minutes before the game, you sent me a text message while I was off doing something saying there's no Florian Wirtz, and I basically said, "What the fuck?" to you.
And we still don't know unless there's something come out post-match, and we'll get to the post-match comments later. If anyone in the chat has heard anything about what the reasons were for Florian Wirtz. But yeah, that dropped 5 minutes to go before kickoff. And even then, that's pretty late in the warm-up, because the players would have had their warm-up. And I think he went to one of the coaches at the end of the warm-up, said something. From the only pictures that I saw, he didn't point to a muscle or anything remotely like that. It was, something's not right. And they pulled him from the squad. We don't know. Anthony's asking there, do we know if it was an injury? We don't know.
They said that it was that he did pick up an injury in the warm-up, but they haven't specified what.
Yeah, exactly. And it could just as easily be that he had an illness and he just done the warm-up and said, look, no, I'm not going to be able to do 45, let alone anything else. It's better to come out now. We don't know. And as soon as we know, you'll know. Okay. But yeah, the problem with that is because it's so late in the warm-up, the obvious change to make, well, there was two. He could have gone with Joe Gomez at right back and put Dominic Szoboszlai in at the number 10. He decided to go with Curtis Jones, bring Curtis Jones in as the 10. The problem with that is they'll have prepared a lot with Florian Wirtz being the trigger for the press.
Absolutely.
And that would have been their setup from watching the Fenerbahce game. Okay, Forrest are going to try and play out from the back. Let's try and put them under pressure. And then 5 minutes before the game starts, everything gets thrown out with the baby in the bathwater and everything. So that kind of flummoxes you. And you saw it in the first half, really right the way through the first half. We were pressing individually. We weren't pressing as a group. We weren't hunting impact. We weren't doing any of the things that we've been accustomed to seeing over the last probably a few months now. Our press from the front has generally been pretty organised. We've turned ball over more often than not. But today it just wasn't there. And look, credit to Forrest. They had a really good first half. I thought Ortega, with the ball at his feet, was really good. His distribution, he gets rid of the ball quick and he's accurate with it. Unlike an awful lot of goalkeepers, they tend to try to hit the touchline and overdo it. And you can turn the ball over from that way. But I thought Forrest in general laid out from the back really well. Won the midfield battles really well. Sangare in the middle of the park won so many of second balls, and we couldn't make a thing stick in that first half. Couldn't get up. They were isolated, and it was crazy. It was easily, hands down, the single worst half of football I've seen from us this season. And you can include any game you like.
You think that was worse than the first half against Palace?
Yeah, I do.
Because I feel like that was up there.
Yeah, it was up there. But for me, this was worse because we had absolutely no penetration, no ability to get up. Even when we got up the pitch, we didn't look like we had a plan of how to get out of our own half, let alone get up the pitch. And when we did get out the pitch, nothing stuck. At least with the Palace game, and I watched the Palace game, I was over in Spain. You could see what they were. I didn't agree with what they were doing with Florian Wirtz out on the left, but he was drifting inside, and they looked like they'd worked on something. This really was a case of, look, that's our starting 11 going into this game, and there was no thought whatsoever that if we had to change it, which is worrying me really, that if we picked up an early red card or if we picked up an injury early in the game, that they don't look like they have a way of organizing themselves on the pitch to be able to build up play and just get out. But the ball looked like a hand grenade for our forwards in the first half.
There was no one could keep that ball for love nor money.
No. And in fairness, I see Jones is getting slaughtered. And look, yeah, you can take that slaughtering and it's going to slaughter everyone. The only thing that he does have is the fact that he wasn't starting with 5 minutes to go before kickoff. Everyone else knew they were playing. And there was no surprises there for any of them. It was just a case of the ball coming up to them. The amount of bad touches Salah took, Hugo took.
My gosh.
Gakpo tried to get on the ball. Never once did he go on the outside of Aina and test him to try to go on the outside. He kept coming inside all the time. And as soon as he'd come in off, Aina would leave him. There was a midfielder there for him to guide him back and force him off the other side. It was just so predictable and easy. But yeah, that first half for me was worse than the Palace one, because at least with the Palace one, it looked like we could get up the pitch at times. This one, nothing. And look, 3 minutes in, Forrest had their best chance of the game. They had the best chance of the game. And you expect him to score. Alisson does really well spreading himself. Really good save. And, that's where they got their confidence from. The stadium got up after that as well. And it looked like, and Chris made the point to us when we were talking, it looked like us from November, December time. We looked like we were like a deer in the headlights, and we didn't know how to react. It was really worrying in that first half.
So in our pre-match show, I posed this question to Chris, but I guess I'll pose it to you now. And the question I asked Chris was, a lot of times when we have a week off, when we don't have that rhythm from that midweek game, a lot of times the players go and they travel, they go see their families, which, fair enough. They don't have that opportunity very often. Arne Slot traveled home. He went to go see his family as well. But the question I posed to Chris was, do you think that's going to impact the way that we start the game? Do you think that we're going to look leggy? Do you think that we're going to look like we've lacked rhythm? And I mean, that's the only thing that I can give. I don't even think I can give it as an excuse, really, because we should have been well rested. These guys just flew to Fenerbahce and back. But we looked like the ones that flew to Fenerbahce and back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we looked poor, and they looked right on it. And look, they were confident coming off the back of a club record away win in Europe. So they were bubbling with confidence, but they were literally looked like they were just told, go out and play. Their front four were just told, go out and play, make stuff happen, pass and move. Don't dwell on the ball, just get it, give it, keep it simple. And that's what they really did. They just moved us around. They trusted Sangare to protect the two centre backs. Both full backs went, and it was it was painful to watch, because it was so simple. And the thing is, you saw, as someone said earlier on there in the chat, we need to upgrade on Gakpo and Salah. The thing is, Omari Hutchinson and Callum Hudson-Odoi aren't world-class wingers. They're just very good wingers.
They looked like world-class wingers in comparison to our wingers.
But
today.
It just goes to show that you have players in their early to mid-20s who get the ball to their feet and run at players and take players on with confidence.
It's fresh legs, young legs.
Young legs, fresh legs, young minds, fresh minds.
Yeah.
And confidence.
And we saw that with Rio later.
Yeah, they created chances without having, they created opportunities where if they had a better centre forward, they would have probably gone into at least 2 up at halftime, because some of the crosses they were putting in, Virgil and Konate, to their credit, dealt with virtually everything they were putting in.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel with better forwards making better runs, a better striker making a better run, then they would have had the upper hand in a big way in the first half. And that just goes to show when it comes to Arne Slot in the summer and Richard Hughes, the wingers they bring in, they don't have to be superstars. They just have to be very effective at what they do and very good at what they do. And that's what you ask is, you saw the work rate of the Forrest wingers when they were asked to track back. The amount of times they were backing up their fullbacks, it was non-stop. And there was a reason why he had to change them on 65, 70 minutes, because they were spent, and that's when the quality dropped. And the quality dropped in the wingers that they brought on just weren't up to the standard. Yeah. So,
but what a luxury to be able to do that, to be able to rotate those wingers.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we have the option. It's just we're very reluctant to do it. And at least today, when he did make the changes, he made the changes with 15 plus injury time to go. So he gave Chiesa and he gave Rio time to be able to get into the game and affect the game, in a positive sense, or whatever. But at least he gave them a chance to come on with, and as it turned out, 20 minutes to go and affect something, make something happen. And in Rio's case, he started out on the left, wasn't getting the ball, nothing was happening for him, switched him onto the right, and that's when he got his joy and his success. So maybe he needs to start trusting his squad a little bit more than what he actually is.
Well, I mean, Rio in that final 10, 15 minutes or so, he completed more dribbles and created more chances than Mo Salah and Gakpo combined in that first 75 minutes, which I think is a pretty damning stat, more toward our senior players than to Rio, because we all know that Rio has that ability. But we'll get to that, because I want to talk about Mo Salah. I want to talk about how he was acting after he got subbed off. There were a couple of things. But you said something really interesting to me in our WhatsApp
Don't
chat.
sound so shocked that it's a rare thing.
No. I'm trying to give this credit where credit is due. So you said in our WhatsApp group that when Arne Slot was preparing for this match, there's no way that he could have anticipated that this Forrest team was going to play like this. And you said it was more like playing Villa than it was like playing a Sean Dyche side.
Yeah.
Walk us through that, because I thought that was a really good point.
Look, Sean Dyche would never set his side up to play against Liverpool or anyone else like that. He just wouldn't. So the only basis that Arne Slot would have had to work off what Vitor Pereira is doing at Forest compared to what he's doing at what he did at Wolves was a one game away to Fenerbahce. And so that game finishes late Thursday night. The coaches and the analysts will have gone to work on that straight away. They'll have come up with certain things to look for and what Forrest did and stuff to watch out for. But you can't set anything in stone on the strength of one performance. So you can prepare as best you can, but you can't really judge patterns of play on the strength of 90 minutes. Whereas if you know what you're coming up against from a side who played more or less the same way for 3 or 4 months, you have a body of work to be able to prepare from. So when I was watching Forrest, it was very organized. It was very 4-2-3-1. And it was everyone in their position. The fullbacks went, one of the sixes sat. Anderson had a bit more of a free role to get involved. The striker stayed between the width of the penalty box. and Morgan Gibbs-White look to drift out onto the wings to support and create overloads. It's very like what Villa do. It's very, very like what Villa do. The only thing that we didn't really see was how they defend, and you saw it at times where Sangare or Anderson would drop in to make it a back five, sometimes off the ball. They did that in the second half a few times. That's probably why we were able to get up the pitch a bit easier, was when we were able to get to the halfway line, they tended to drop off a bit more because, you know, they poured so much into that first half. But yeah, watching that first half of Nottingham Forest, they looked very much like an Aston Villa side. And when you look at that Forest 11 on paper, it's good. They're good players. You can't say that they're in a false position, but they're on their fourth manager, and they shouldn't be in the position that they're in with that 11.
It's not too far off from the team that finished in the European places last year.
Exactly.
There's not that many changes. Like, I think if Chris Wood was on the pitch today, the scoreline probably would have been different. I do think that they are enormously lacking a goal scorer. They've had about 50 or more shots in their last 2 games at home, and they have no goals. So I thought they needed to capitalize when they were on top. They needed to capitalize in that first 45 in particular. And it's something that we've been guilty of in the past. We certainly were not guilty of it today, but we've been guilty of it in the past. And look, I don't even think there's much to talk about in that first half in terms of incidents, because it really is all Forrest. I don't know if there was anything specifically outside of that first chance that was really their one kind of glaring obvious chance, because there was a shot over the bar from Anderson right around 44 minutes. Another long-range effort from Milinkovic, but it really was a lot of long-range shots going wide. They didn't really work Alisson.
No, Alisson made a brilliant save very early on. But other than that, we dealt with the set pieces well. We dealt with the corners well. We dealt with the long throws well. The only thing I think that the main thing we struggled with was when we got up the pitch, was holding the ball and getting players up in support. Getting players up in support. Salah was what we wanted him to do. Is he was coming back, he was defending. But the options when they were on the ball, even in our own half, when we were close to the halfway line, the options that we had on the ball were very, very limited, especially on Salah's side. And, so if the ball comes to you and you're getting pressed from 2 different angles, you need to have options. If you're not going to be able to dribble through somebody, you have to have options to pass the ball. And if their passing lanes are being cut out, you're left with 1 or 2 options. You either go backwards, which is what we did in the majority of cases because it was safer, or you try to go long into space and hope. So it was a really tough watch, and it was like we were almost man-marked at times, but they defended from the front really, really well. And you have to give credit to
they were first to every ball.
Yeah. You have to give credit to Forrest and how they set up to defend the way we play out, as well as criticize us for how we played out and how pedestrian it was. Because it was pedestrian. But in fairness, I thought our defending of the last line, our penalty box defending was good. Our
Virgil
aerial
and Ibu were both very good.
Yeah.
There were a couple of really solid tackles. There was one tackle by Virgil where it was a ball from Hutchinson right around 38 minutes where Jesus was in on goal, and it was a brilliantly timed tackle because Jesus was one-on-one with Alisson, and Virgil van Dijk just kind of steps in from the side and gets that ball out. I thought that was probably his standout piece of defending in that first half. The one thing I want to talk about before we move into the second half is right around 30 minutes, Arne Slot made a tactical change, where he switched really Jones and Szoboszlai. They switched positions. Did you find that surprising? Were you surprised that didn't happen before the game started? And what do you think it accomplished?
No, I'm not surprised it didn't happen at the outset, because Szoboszlai would have prepared to be playing at right back. He'd have known who he was coming up against, and away from home, at least start the game with, he's going to be playing at right back. He's up against a winger and a fullback who can go both ways. So he would have been mentally prepared for it more than what Curtis Jones would have been. It's kind of like when you see new signings coming into a side that are forwards, you know you can just throw them in because forwards are just inventive and they can try to make stuff work. They'll have more, and it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you throw a centre back in or you throw a full back in from the start and they're unprepared or underprepared or not mentally right to come in and start, like Curtis Jones would have been, he wouldn't have been expecting to start a right back, whatever. So, yeah, I think that would have been definitely throwing him to the lions. So I think whether, when he got into the game, it was probably more a case of, look, you need Damo's legs in the middle of the park, switch it, because try something. You had to try something. And bar making a substitution, there was nothing really, there was no more that he could have done in that first half, positionally changing things, then swapping those two. That, the only other thing I think he could have maybe done was potentially going to a flat 3 in midfield. But then, I didn't even notice McAllister was playing in the 10 until the last few minutes of the first half.
I mean, I didn't even notice Gravenberch was playing until the second half.
Yeah,
so,
it was all
our whole midfield shape just felt wrong. And part of me feels like if you're Curtis Jones and you are the understudy to kind of all three of those positions, you do need to be ready to go. Like, I understand being, planning to sit on the bench and being upset about that or being, disappointed about that and maybe not being 100% ready in game state and mind, like in your mind. But I can't get over how fish out of water Jones looked in that role. And it's a role that he's played before. I know he looks better sitting in a deep lying 6 as a pair. Like, that is his better position. But I just can't get over how out of place Jones looked in that first, 15 to 20 minutes of that game. I feel like he was giving the ball away constantly, which is not the Curtis Jones that I know. The Curtis Jones that I know is very hard to dispossess. And granted, this was true of the entire team, but it's just something I wanted to highlight. We're going to go through the whole team. I don't want to specifically highlight Jones as a weak link, but just in the first 15 minutes or so, he stood out to me as one of the fish out of water characters.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, it's one thing that's probably in his game. They mentioned it in halftime with us, was he wants too much time on the ball. And that first half was not that. You didn't get time on the ball. You really did have to get it, give it, and move. It was literally, again, don't take the extra touch. Yeah. And Carragher was saying during the game, at his age now, and his lack of, you expect at 25 to have played a lot more starts in your career than he has made through various reasons. But whether it's something that'll come that he can get out of his game, I don't know. But then when you saw him where he was dispossessed, there was once in the first half, he was on the ball, done a turn. It was literally the start of the game. Done a turn, got out of trouble, took a touch, and then was swamped with like 3 or 4 players. And I was looking around, okay, he's had the ball taken off it. Where was his options for a pass? They weren't there. And it's like, if you don't have options for a pass, you got to keep it or try to keep it or try to win a foul. And
I suppose
that was the biggest problem in the first half, was the lack of connectivity between the players. It was we were too disjointed, we were too far away from each other. And it was like, okay, this is the plan. We're going to get the ball and we're going to try to go over the top. And when that didn't happen, nobody decided, right, let's get closer together and work possession better. They just held their positions wider, but didn't play the ball over the top. It was mental to watch.
It was very, very hard to watch. I was going to say, I suppose the one thing I'll say to Jones is that
he's easy. I'm seeing it there in the chat. He's easy to kick because the second he has a bad game, he's a Scouser, he's local lad, come through the youth academy, so he's the easiest one to kick.
Yeah, no, I'm almost hesitant to pick on him specifically, but I will say the same kind of the same way that we were saying that Liverpool had a game plan. Forrest will have had a game plan as well with Florian Wirtz in the side, and the hard press on that player Maybe Florian Wirtz would have been able to keep the ball a little bit better than Jones because he does have that element of creativity, but Forrest would have been able to kind of keep that game plan and basically just seen Jones as a slightly less creative version of Wirtz. So he was still going to get kind of triple teamed or double teamed at least. And I feel like he probably had a harder setup that way. But I don't want to give him a get out of jail free card or anything.
Thor's making the point here, and I don't. Thor, if you could answer us, where are you getting this from? But apparently he's saying it's a back problem.
Okay.
With Flo, which hopefully is just a back
hopefully
spasm.
He just tweaked it or something.
And it's fine.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet. I will let you know if someone has a reliable source and is willing to throw that in there. I will absolutely read it out. Let's get on to the second half because I'd rather just pretend that the first half didn't exist at all from a Liverpool perspective. There were no changes, but I did notice changes tactically. I did notice changes in our possession, in the way that we were moving the ball. What did you notice kind of off the bat in the second half for Liverpool?
We moved it faster. We moved it mainly down the right. Didn't go down the left very often at all. It looked like everyone had shifted across a little bit and got closer together. That was the main thing. The other thing, I think one of the first actions that happened in the second half, Ibu carried the ball about 30 yards, 30, 40 yards through the traffic to relieve pressure. And after that, Forrest decided they didn't press as high. They pressed from the halfway line. We were able to get out to the halfway line a lot easier. And from there, we were able to build. But we were able to build when we were closer together, mainly on the right-hand side. And I think the one main chance before we scored anything came from Curtis Jones' shot, which was well saved. Not sure he could do any more with it because it was like right on the keeper. He hit it first time and the keeper spread his legs and it came off his leg. But it seemed like most of the focus was about getting down the right-hand side, getting Szoboszlai, Jones, Salah in that triangle and trying to make that work. And it also helped by Forrest's legs starting to go as well. Kept the ball away from Sangare as well. He didn't really want to drift out onto that side. So you made Elliot Anderson defend better, which isn't his strongest suit. So, you know, we were starting to make the Forest players chase shadows a little bit and just we moved the ball a bit faster. And it was simple things. We were let down once we got to the final third. Either crosses weren't coming, or if they did come, they were hitting first man. It was the build-up play up to the final third. I thought was fine, no problems. It was just when we got to the final third, same age-old problems. Hugo hardly got into the game at all, and it's hard to blame him when he was totally starved of service.
Yeah,
I don't know as a striker how you set up as a number 9 when the ball's out in the wing, and you know the ball's not coming in. You know it's not coming. No matter what runs you make, no matter how many times you check forward and run back, no matter how many times you go side to side, they're not going to cross the ball. So, and the thing is, it's not as if Murillo is like 6'4". He's 5'11".
He's one of the smallest center backs in the league.
Hugo's 6'3". You put the ball in the box, make something happen, make them defend it. From the edge of the box, you never know what you can pick up. You know, it was just frustrating the living daylights out of me. You get in good positions to put crosses in, and they just wouldn't come.
Yeah,
and that's under instruction, because we're seeing this too often for it not to be the plan. Whether he sees it as wasting good opportunities to build an attack, or whatever his excuse is, that's a plan, not to put crosses in willy-nilly. And
Ekitike is not prolific at heading the ball in general. Just to go back to the Florian Wirtz injury, because there is something that just came out from Arne Slot, and I don't want to forget about it. So he spoke about the Florian Wirtz injury, and he says, quote, "We do not think it's very serious, but he felt something in his back. He wasn't able to be 100% or close to 100%. We hope and expect he will be able to be with us again next week, but you never know." So
hopefully it's just you felt a tweak. And anyone who's ever had a problem with their back knows if you feel it, you stop, because it's not going to get better in a few minutes or a few hours.
Yeah.
That's just going to be rest, and hopefully the
send him to the chiropractor.
Yeah, send him to the club physios and just let the masseuse at the club do their best and get him right for next week.
Yeah.
There's no point in taking risks.
I completely agree. And I think, we might have been having a very different conversation here about that, taking risks or not taking risks and pulling Florian Wirtz out. But with the size of our squad right now and the injury problems that we do have, we can't be taking any risks, even if it is minor, even if it is for a player as important as Wirtz to our team, because you don't want to have Florian Wirtz missing months. If he misses one game, we can deal with that, but you don't if he misses months, then it's another completely different problem.
But it's a wake up call for the club that all it took was one injury, and you look at what's left. You had to bring a second keeper onto the bench, to make up the numbers. So
I mean, if this was the wake up call, God,
well, no, it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter.
The wake up call should have happened about 4 injuries ago, because we've had this problem for a while. Look, let's get on to the juicy part of this game, because honestly, there's not a hell of a lot that happens in that first 75 minutes. So right around, let's see, it's 75 minutes is when the subs happen. So 75 minutes, it's a little bit earlier than Arne Slot typically makes his changes. And you have Mo and Gakpo going off, and Chiesa and Rio coming on. You also have Dominguez and Luca coming on, Anderson and Jesus going off. I think Anderson going off helped us massively, because I think he was fantastic, and maybe might have been feeling a little bit fatigued. But look, the big call for us as Liverpool fans was taking Mo Salah specifically and Gakpo off and putting Rio and Chiesa out on the wings with enough time for them to do some damage or some action, to have an actual impact. I want to talk to you a little bit about Mo Salah's reaction as he came off, because I know that you saw it as well. I am not a body language expert, but I couldn't get over Mo Salah today. I couldn't get over how kind of lackadaisical he was, how it felt like he was almost just having a day out at the park with Nico Williams, and how, he was laughing when Nico Williams beat him, and they know each other. They really do. But there was very little fight for me. And when Mo Salah goes off and is laughing on the bench, buddy, as if, nothing is wrong and it's just another Sunday in the park, that to me didn't sit well. And maybe I'm reading into something that isn't there.
No, it didn't sit well with me either. Look, you saw him a few times when he didn't get fouls, and he was fouled a few times when he didn't.
I mean, but that's normal, right? He gets that all the time.
It's Anthony Taylor. You know that you're not going to get anything, so you get on with it. But Nico Williams had his number all day long, and there was just before he was hooked, and he was hooked, 100%. He lost the ball, threw his hands up in the air, and then a couple of seconds later, Nico Williams is on the ball, and Salah's just walking back.
He's walking back, and I said that to you in our WhatsApp. I'm like, he's not even jogging.
Yeah, that's just that's just taking the piss. He's literally just taking the piss out of everyone at that. And when the camera panned to him when he went off, and he knows the camera pans to him when he goes off, he sat with Cody Gakpo, and he's just smiling and laughing. I'm like, what the fuck are you smiling about? I'd be embarrassed. He is a Premier League legend. He's a bona fide Premier League legend. He's one of the best players to ever play for Liverpool Football Club. But it's 0-0, and you've been hooked because you've been shit. And in fairness, today you saw the reason why Slot dropped him when he dropped him. Because, he's come back from AFCON and he's contributing. His assists are there. He's everything bar a goal. He's been more effective in games without being scintillating, but at least he's been on the ball and looking to make things happen. Today was, if he was dropped next week on the strength of performance levels, he can't complain.
Oh, absolutely
His agent can't come out and say jack shit, because that performance today, he deserves to be dropped. It was abysmal. I mean, people can go for Jones. They can go for anyone you like. Mo Salah has come up against fullbacks, left, right, and centre, all different types, all different shapes, and sizes, left foot, right foot, throughout all of his time in the Premier League. And he knows if one thing doesn't work, something else will. He just looked like he threw his arms up in the air. I just can't get the better of Nico Williams today. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you doing?
It just felt like he gave up. Like it, and I guess from a senior player at this point in the season, when the team is struggling, like everyone on that pitch knows that that's not their best performance. Like McAllister came out and said afterwards it wasn't his best performance, 100%. But if you know it's not your best performance, I expect, like McAllister did, for you to be fighting tooth and nail until the very end, and just be at least making an effort to try to show that you care. But anyways, I don't want to harp on that, because we
will go into that a lot more on Patreon.
We'll talk about that in our rants section of our Patreon show, because I feel like the rants, they need a little bit more airtime.
Yeah, big time.
But look, let's talk about the positives, because it looked a little bit like a different team from Liverpool once those two wingers came on, and I think Rio specifically was the one that changed the game. And you made a call to put Rio on quite early. Actually, you in our chat, you said, Rio's the one change that we can make off the bench that would actually make a difference. Why did you say that when you did? And did you see evidence on the pitch?
I didn't expect him to come on to the right, but I wanted him. The changes I thought he'd go for. I wanted us to go 4-4-2 and put balls into the box. Get Rio on, get Chiesa on, put the two of them out wide, and just put crosses in. Put Gakpo and Ekitike through the middle. 2 6'3" players, and just put balls in the box. Put McAllister in a 10. Because we had them pinned back at this stage. It was like we were nullifying their out balls. And I thought, try something. Just try it. We cannot not get 3 points here. We have to win. Draws are losses now. So I think I said that about 5 minutes before the changes came. And when the changes came, I thought, okay, he's hooked Gakpo, he's hooked Salah, fine. Okay, he's going to stick with the formation with McAllister as like a second striker. But when he put Rio out onto the right and he got Nico Williams 1v1, done his little step overs, took a touch to the right, and then went outside him and put that floating cross in. Like, yes, if you're a striker, you can work with that. If you're a striker, you can run off that. You can time runs off that, because if the ball doesn't come in the first time, he's going to beat the guy, and it's going to come in the second time, because Rio will beat his player more often than not. And he hasn't got express pace. But what he is, he's very quick with the ball at his feet, and you often see quick players over the ground, but players who dribble with pace are few and far between, and that's why they're big money. These players who can dribble at pace and go past the fullback, they're worth their weight in gold. And that first cross that he put in, that would have set Hugo's eyes alight. And he's like, okay, I'm in the game now. And the more it was the case, the more you can get him on the ball, the better. But there's definitely a call for him to be starting more, or to be impacting games earlier.
I think subbing him on earlier is starting to get pretty loud. Yeah,
if it's not working on the hour with Cody or Salah, throw him in. Give him time. Give him time to get into the pace of the game and make something happen. I mean, at the end of the day, he's a young kid. He's 17. He ain't gonna run out of energy, I can promise you. So
he's not going to give you like defensively anything, but then again, neither is Mo Salah.
Exactly, not in a real sense, but he does give you an option that it looks like he doesn't care if he plays left or right.
I was
And
actually really pleased to see him play on the right because I thought he
yeah,
looked great.
yeah. And the other thing is, you don't see Jacob Murphy at Newcastle is one of the few. A right-footed winger who plays on the right-hand side, gets the ball out of his feet and puts crosses in. You don't see it that often anymore. It tends to be left foot on the right side, right foot on the left side. And that tends to be the prevailing thing over the last few years. It's not as common as what you think now to have your strong foot on the strong side. So fullbacks having to deal with that, it's a different thing. They're not used to it anymore. It's kind of like centre backs aren't used to playing against the target man number 9. And they're having to get used to it this season. That physical type player. And that's just another thing the fullbacks aren't used to coming up against. So having someone who's right-footed on the right-hand side who can go past your fullback and put crosses in, it's great to see. And the fact that he can do it and he looks like he loves doing it, I want to see more of it.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw more of it today. We did. I want to touch on the fact that Jones and Kirkes go off and Robertson and Gomez come on at 82 minutes because we start to see Gomez as a weapon from long throws, which is something that we haven't really seen kind of up until this point. We know that Gomez was tested as a long throw specialist in August. It was kind of parked by the set piece team, and it's interesting that they're bringing it back. Obviously that has to do with Gomez's fitness as well, but it wasn't a bad long throw. I think it still needs a little bit of work, but he can get some distance on his throws for sure.
Yeah. Joe Gomez is animal strong. He's physically a strong guy.
I believe they had to have him like back off of the weights because he had so much upper body strength for a while.
Yeah, and the thing is, they used this a few years ago. I remember him having a few long throws in him under Klopp as well. But it's not a new thing that Joe Gomez has in his arsenal. It's just something we don't utilize very often. But we saw the beauty of it in both sides when he goes long with the physicality that you have with Konate, Ekitike, and Virgil to win the second ball and keep the ball alive in the area. It's a weapon, And if he's on the pitch, it's there. Use it. It's a weapon. But you saw the disguise in it as well. And you saw the fear that clubs have. And we were guilty of it in the first half as well. With Ayena's long throw. It's like you set up for the long throw, you leave yourself open for the short one. So it gives you more of an option, but having the bravery to do what he did, given the context of the game, that's fabulous. I love that. I've seen Liverpool do that before, and someone will point to the game. I think it was Sturridge and Milner linking up to put a cross in. I don't know. It might have been against Dortmund, something like that. But it's not something you see often. But that late in the game, to do what he did for the goal that counted, to go short to Szoboszlai, is when they were all set up, everyone was set up.
It's what Fulham did to us.
Yeah, and
it's exactly how Fulham got their late equalizer.
Loved it.
Let's talk about both of the goals, quote unquote. So at 89 minutes, we have Rio getting the ball. He puts in a lovely cross over to Ekitike. Ekitike has a header that is straight at the keeper that is blocked. I think he should score. Aina tries to clear it. It hits McAllister's back/elbow, I'll call it. And I was just laughing at this point. I didn't even think about it being overturned for anything. I was laughing at sort of like the stupidity of the whole thing and how, ridiculous our fate was. But lo and behold, there was a VAR review here. So a couple things to talk about. Number one is that Ekitike has to finish that ball. It's a beautiful cross from Rio. And if Ekitike heads it back where it came from, that's a goal.
The pace was on the ball. The pace was on the ball. All he had to do was, the only thing I think, Murillo was cutting off that post. Mm-hmm. So it's a gamble whether he saw Murillo in his eye line and thought, I'll go to the opposite side.
Yeah. It was a good save from Ortega. It was.
Yeah. It was really close to him. It was at him. At the end of the day, the ball coming at him, he should have just put it straight in the top bins. Take Murillo out of the equation. Don't head it back and down. Head it back and straight. And it's a goal all day, every day. And you're sat there, you're thinking, we've got out of jail. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I can't believe. And I think the last 4 goals we've conceded in injury time have been against us.
Yeah. Yeah, we have not had a late winner probably since our string of late winners at the very start of this season. And look, like this, it feels contentious, but I don't know if it actually is contentious. I think once you see all of the angles, you do see his arm move at some point. Now, whether or not the ball hits his back and then his arm, it doesn't really matter in this particular scenario. Unfortunately, if it hits the ball at all on the arm, even if it's tucked in, which feels like it shouldn't count. Like, I feel like if the arms are tucked into the body, it should be considered okay, but it's not. And if there's a goal scored off of the arm in any way, shape, or form, we know that it's chalked off. And at that point in time, it felt like, Liverpool had no luck this season whatsoever. It honestly felt like, everything goes against us, every single thing. And you wondered if the heads would drop. The heads didn't drop, though. In the only thing that I can give credit to Liverpool today was sort of this last 10-minute spell. That's the only point in this game where I feel like they actually can walk away with their heads held high. And McAllister came out post-match and said, I told Ekitike not to worry because I would get another chance and that we would score another goal. Maka believed that they would get another goal. And, I mean, it was amazing the way that this panned out, because to have McAllister score his first goal of the season, have it ruled out because of an elbow, and then to have the whole thing almost happen a second time was quite miraculous. So let's talk through this second goal. So there's a series of kind of Forrest pressures where they get a corner, there's a Sangare long-range effort, and then we, at the very end of the game, 95th minute plus 30 or so, and I think there was about 5 minutes of extra time added, because of the VAR, because of the extra time added for VAR, we got this extra 1 minute of game time. And we get the Gomez long throw, or the anticipation for the long throw. And we end up with a situation where Gomez decides to go short. He goes short to Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai holds the ball for quite a while, doesn't act impulsively, decides that he's going to hold on to that ball, and then puts a cross into Virgil van Dijk. Now, we'll get to Virgil van Dijk in a moment, but he then gets the ball to McAllister, and McAllister bundles the ball into the back of the net. And lo and behold, there's another VAR check. And I thought we were free and clear here at this point in time until it was like VAR offside checking. And the thing about Virgil van Dijk is he's such a fucking unit. When they show the line that, yes, there's a player behind him, but you can't even see the fact that Aina is behind Virgil van Dijk. Like, there, you can see that Ekitike is offside. And Ekitike thankfully doesn't touch the ball or play for the ball. But you cannot see that Aina is behind Virgil van Dijk, because Virgil van Dijk is just like linebacker style, silhouetting the whole guy out.
He's about 5 foot wide.
Yeah. But you're in a situation here where the VAR goes to VAR for offside. I thought we were looking at the Forrest player that was kind of closer to the camera, and I'm like, fuck, Virgil's offside. Yeah. And I was going to be so upset in this post-match show. I was going to be so upset. But they give the goal, and I needed to wait to see the semi-automated offside, because I couldn't see that Aina was behind it.
Yeah.
And it was like toenail to toenail. He was perfectly onside, Virgil.
Yeah.
It felt like a gift from the football gods, to be completely honest. That's what that felt like to me. Yeah. I felt like after all of the toil and trouble and all of the shit that we've been dealing with, this felt like a gift from the football gods.
Yeah, well, Hawkeye there saw the Forest player's foot.
I couldn't see his foot, so credit to you for having perfect vision.
Yeah, I could see in the replay after, you could see Aina's head behind Virgil's shoulder. You could see the top of his head behind Virgil's shoulder. But yeah, Szoboszlai, Gomez disguises the throw, first and foremost, is brave enough to play it short. Szoboszlai makes himself available, doesn't whip it straight away. It takes his time, creates the angle. The Forest player never presses it. So he goes to shifts the ball to take it on his left, then cuts back, puts the ball in with his right. and Virgil hits it down and towards the far corner. Keeper makes a save. McAllister follows up. Good finish. You've seen Cole Palmer missing from closer. So the fact that McAllister, the fact that McAllister kept going and banked on the fact that the keeper might spill it, that he just went and went and went, and he got his just rewards. In fairness, I don't think it's been a long time since he's had a run in a side playing as a number 10. He did it. That was his position at Brighton, where he was a second striker.
Yeah.
But it's an alien position to him these days, and I thought in the game he was largely anonymous. So it was he was unlucky. I couldn't believe they disallowed his first one on the camera angles from behind the goal.
Yeah, no, I thought it was off his back 100%.
Yeah,
and I thought that they were just bullshitting us.
Exactly. And then you see the angle from the side, and the ball hits the back of his arm, and you see his arm jolt forward.
Yeah, it's subtle, but you can see the arm move.
There's nothing you can do about it. It's one of those things. Those goals, any part of the arm, doesn't matter what it is. And look, I guess at least it's black and white. At least you know that it's black and white, that any part of the ball, of the hand or arm that affects the goal by the goal scorer, it's getting chalked off. No problem with it. And I'm okay. I'm okay with it because it's black and white.
It's a tough one. You do feel like if the arms are tucked in close to the body, sort of like how you can't give a handball for that. You would think that like if you can't give a handball for it, then you shouldn't give a goal for, like you shouldn't be able to overturn a goal for it as well. But as you said, it is what it is.
Yeah, and the fact that we got out of jail, we got our just rewards for a second half. I think in the second half we looked like the side who were going to make something happen. They huffed and puffed a bit, but I don't think Alisson really had much to do in the second half. And it was like I felt for the last 20 minutes, if there was any side going to go and win it, it was going to be us. So I think we got out of it with 3 points. I think we definitely deserved one. We got 3. How many games have we played this season where we've dropped points where we have been the better side? And sometimes football just works like that. It doesn't, when we do our season review at the end of the season, we'll look back 1-0 away, win a Forrest late winner. Yeah, great 3 points.
It might be a big 3 points.
It might be a big 3 points.
It really might be.
We're not going to give a flying fiddlers about the performance if we get into the top 4. We're not going to care about the performance. It's all about points.
Late goals at Forrest last year, helped us, get some points as well. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if I would define it as a smash and grab. I feel like it was a little bit smash and grabby. But I do think that the last 10 minutes or so, they deserve credit for going off the pitch with their heads held high in that scenario, and for continuing to at least give it a shot until the end of the game. But I mean, they do need to take a long, hard look at themselves in the way that they performed in the first 75 minutes of that game. There are a few players. We don't have time on this show to get into all of the could do betters, man of the match, things like that. But if there was one player that you could call out specifically for could do better today, who would that player be?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, Mo Salah. Without a shadow of a doubt. And not just because of, it's Mo Salah or anything like that, or what you expect of him. If any right winger playing for us puts in a shift like that, he deserved to be hooked. He was atrocious. It was one of his worst performances this season. It was brutal bad.
Yeah, and
it really was.
Like I said, we'll get into it in our post match show, because there's some extenuating circumstances. He is fasting, things like that. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But for now, I think, Kev, I'm going to give you the final word on sort of where this leaves Liverpool. Where does this leave Arne Slot? Is this just a hiccup? Is this one of those games that you can say, okay, like, we got it out of our system, we need to get back on track, like, let's get back to playing the way we were last week? Or is this sort of foreboding for things to come?
It's a reminder that there are no easy games in this league. Nottingham Forest are knocking around the relegation zone. West Ham are knocking around the relegation zone. There are no easy games. And, don't take games for granted. Going away to Sunderland and getting a win there, fantastic. Done really well. Beating Brighton in the Cup, fantastic. Well done. But you have to go and beat the likes of Nottingham Forest. You have to go and beat West Ham. You're looking up now, and you've got clubs in your sights, but you need 3 points to be able to haul them in. So they have to take every game on its merits and treat every game like cup final. No more fucking about. You're in the business end of the stadium now, or the business end of the season.
Yeah.
Don't piss about like you did today.
You heard that, Reds. No fucking about. Time for seriousness is now. Look, we got over the line today. We're going to continue this conversation because I think there's more to talk about. We're going to talk about Arne Slot's quotes and whatnot over on the post-match show. But I wanted to make sure that we kind of gave this a full hour here on YouTube because we want to make sure that we're always here first for post-match shows. So if you choose to come with us, we'd love you over there on Patreon, but no pressure whatsoever. We will be over there with Matt. He's going to respond to the show and also to the Olympics, which we will chit-chat about. But we will see you over there in about 2 or 3 minutes. Thank you, everyone here on YouTube. Really, really appreciate it. I appreciate your support as always. Kev, do you mind taking us out of here?
Yep.
Thank you guys so much. Tune in at 10 o'clock tonight for the guys talking about this game and everything else that happens over the weekend as well. Didn't want to forget that. Thank you. Have a great